Hi, welcome back to 30 Days to Building a Marriage You Love. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Chris.
And we are doing tip number 18, which we were just laughing about. But tip number 18 is effort.
Like when you were dating.
Yeah.
See, we are finishing each other's sentences.
Oh, so cute. So cute. But we were laughing about this. Why though? Why were we just laughing as the video starting?
I don't know, honey. Why were we laughing?
So if you don't know, Chris is wonderful, but he also has one of the components. No, it's starting to sound negative. But one of the fun facts about Chris is that he is a radio, TV, and film major. And so he has this cinematography, like film mindset, and so he wants to structure and format like the talks out and what's our takeaway point. And it's really beautiful. And it's actually really good for me because I'm like, here's our topic. Let's just like shoot from the hip. Like, let's just go or like follow how the Spirit's leading us.
I'm also very structured in my professional career as well. Yes.
All of the above. And so as we were talking about like effort, like when you're dating, I'm preparing to say, okay, we've done this for 17 other videos. What's our takeaway? And he was like, let's just roll with it. And I said, welcome to the dark side. It's just, It's good.
Well, and honestly, the reason why I said that for this one in particular is it's actually an easy subject for us to discuss, because when you think about, see, she just did the eyebrow thing. This is why if you ever want to play poker, play with my wife, because she has her tails are like all up here. I know I got a lot going on here, but hers are
they have a mind of their own.
And all right. Mariah does the same.
Mariah really does.
Anyway, you can always read her face with that. So the reason why I say that is effort, like when you were dating, means a lot to me, primarily because I remember our dating life very clearly. And I also remember some of the thoughts and some of the things that helped us come together and the things that we did really to win each other, essentially win the heart of each other.
Yeah.
What does this make you think about?
I think on that note, yes to all of that. But I think too, with effort, like when you're dating, I think when you're married, a lot of times we can take our spouse for granted. And I do know there are many times that I take you for granted, or just even like the things that are normal to me that I'm like, there's so much here to be grateful for, that you can just get caught up in the busyness and the good intentioned things. And so to just make small efforts, like when you were dating, that you're like, oh, this would probably be really thoughtful, or this would bless them, or like when Chris and I were dating, we would have this running list in our phones. I mean, we both still have the list of things that both of us really liked or wanted to do. Like one of his big things that he wanted to do was go see Harry Connick Jr. in concert. He had never seen him. And since we've been married, he's now seen him 3 times, right?
Twice live. Yeah.
Twice live. And it'll be 3. We're going to go for a 3rd because he's awesome. He's amazing. But like those things dating, I think, are the things that win you. But then in the same way of being married, making that effort, I almost feel like when you do some of those things that are so thoughtful, it almost feels extra, because it's like you still are paying attention to me. You're still mindful, even in the busyness, even in you've already won me and you don't have to win me again, but it's this pursuit of maybe wooing the heart. So I think it means just as much, but even more in a different aspect, if that makes sense.
Sure. But,
what do you think?
Yeah, I know, I agree 100%. I also think like where my mind went with this subject is the amount of attention and the amount of time you think about trying to win the other person's heart. That's kind of an ongoing thing when you're pursuing someone, right? The dating life, you're learning about the other person. To your point, we have notes. I have notes in my phone that I still reference from time to time on the 3 types of flowers that Danielle likes that are all special
Impossible to
ordered,
find.
all special order, all certain times of the year.
Unless you're in Texas and
Unless
have an
you're in El
HEB.
Paso
No.
and you can't order them because it's El Paso.
If you're in Texas and you have HEB, or if you're in Washington State, they're at every farmer's market, but they're peonies, ranunculus, and garden roses. Like, it's just,
Okay. Yes. But my point being, like, those are little things that I remember now because we've been together a while, but at the time they're just, you're in discovery mode, you're discovery learning, trying to figure out what's important to the other person, because that's one way that you really show that you're interested in them is, hey, this is important to her. It's going to be important to me too.
yeah.
So applying that same methodology and that mindset to marriage
Yeah.
is equally, if not more important, because, to your earlier point, we can kind of get lost in the season and get lost in just the overarching weight of life in general.
Yeah.
Whether it be work, whether it be kids, whether it be just exhaustion from any of the above. And to be able to still take time to think about, what does my spouse need right now?
Mhm.
What's a way to show her or him in your case, what he could need, a way to really bless him.
Yeah.
So,
And I think too, like getting creative. And I mean, it sounds very unromantic, but one of the things that I even started doing just like after this past Christmas was just putting notes in my phone of like, these are little things that he has mentioned that I could, if I want to surprise him with like a little gift or do just little things, because in the heat of the moment, I don't always like think about that, where I'm like, oh man, that would have been really great to get him. But, so I think just having this constant, and for some people, like rhythms and schedules matter, and I think they're important. But even I was talking to a friend a few weeks back, and she puts reminders in her phone every week. Like, her husband really loves words of affirmation, so she sends him an email like every week, and she has a reminder. And while that doesn't sound romantic, I think it's helping build a system to put the effort in. And I was like, wow, I need a reminder sometimes of just like, wow,
yeah,
like this, how do I pursue Chris and what I can do well and show up in that capacity?
yeah. I mean, honestly, the same thing I think applies to to people with busy lives, where an email, a note before you leave, something to just show that you're thinking about them despite whatever is going on in your day-to-day life. I remember when we were dating and I was deployed to Afghanistan, and you know, it was actually a blessing for us because we had dated a little before, a couple months, and then decided to still talk while I was deployed. And that was a very sweet blessing for us because we had to get creative in the way we were communicating and only focus on how can we communicate and get to know the other person. So we used cards, we used letters, we used emails often when we FaceTimed or Skyped, whichever avenue we were talking. There were still ways though that were just little snapshots of getting to know the other person, but then also just let them know that you're thinking about them. And I think there was a period of time there that, gosh, you're probably getting a card every day at some point. Because
it was really like, it was really fun. And so even in those things, like that doesn't happen in this season, and that's okay too. But
but
even
emails
sweet
happen and
text
happen.
messages or emails, like those things are all great. And so I think too, like this is a great piggyback too off of the, even the love languages, which we've talked about previously. But just really being attentive to those things and just making sure that that is not necessarily like the win of like, I'm going to check the box, but just keeping in mind that investing in your spouse and just your marriage, that is a proactive measure to take, which is something we can talk about. I think in one of the other videos, being proactive versus reactive in your marriage. But
yeah. So I think what's another way, at least for you, that you attribute dating mindset to marriage?
Another way that I attribute dating mindset to marriage. I mean, I always think like one of the first things are just like keeping it fun
Yeah.
and being creative with like, you know, if you have in kind of what we've said in one of the other videos is just make the most of it. Why? What about you? I can tell you have something, so let's hear what you
No,
have.
no, I was just going to applaud you for your efforts tonight and our date. See, the eyebrows just happened again.
I don't even feel them. I
It just
don't even
happened.
know. Does this happen to anybody
Mm.
else? You just
Just leave a comment.
Just-
Agree with me, please.
just gonna
No, like, so tonight we had a friend come over and they watched the kids, and we were able to actually have a date night tonight, which
Oh,
is a very special event for us usually, because it doesn't always happen. So
no.
it was great to be able to do that. And Danielle said she made a reservation tonight, and she told me it was at a vegan restaurant. And I asked which one, so I could at least kind of scope out the menu and make sure this was something we were going to do. But then she surprised me with a restaurant I've been wanting to try for a while in Arlington, and it was a really good dinner. Learned something new about shrimp scampi tonight. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna talk about it because you're looking at me like we shouldn't be talking about this, but shrimp scampi, all right, big thing for us. For me, I like shrimp scampi. So
I think we're gonna
It's-
title this video Shrimp Scampi.
okay, so my grandma
Okay.
and my grandpa and my family used to eat at Red Lobster because it was super special for my grandparents, and my grandma loved shrimp scampi. And if you've ever had shrimp scampi at Red Lobster, you know it comes in a little dish. It's just the shrimp, it's just garlic, it's butter. You really can't go wrong. And so Danielle wanted to order the shrimp scampi tonight. And so I was like, yeah, shrimp scampi sounds great. And this is a nice restaurant. Little did I know that it actually comes on a bed of pasta, and it wasn't in a dish, and there wasn't garlic, and I guess there's some garlic on it probably.
There is, it's doused in butter and garlic.
Okay. Not exactly what I expected, but it was still very good. But anyway, we got off on a tangent there.
So
Shrimp
thanks
scampi.
for joining us for tip number 18, shrimp scampi. Anyway, all that to say, whatever the season is, whatever your circumstances, thinking about even tonight, like I was watching, there was a couple next to us and they were not married. And I mean, we were sitting very close to their table. So it's not like I'm like, hi, God, I mean, I would have been happy to be their friend. But I was like listening to them and they were just like talking a little bit, just so engaging and so interested in one another. And so like, it's just sweet. And to have that kind of attention, like, and I was even reminded of, this is why when we go out now on dates, it's no longer like, hey, I'm going to make you the focal point because I'm wanting to woo you to see if there's more here. It's now I'm going to set the boundary to put my phone away to make sure I do focus on you and not miss this moment with you and not take for granted this opportunity with you. And
it's also talking about more than just kids and
yeah, and like
what's
what to do,
happening
like
day to day.
and we did even tonight, we like went through like, hey, these are like some of the
goals,
like 2 or 3
passions, things that.
Okay, well, but we did still talk about like, hey, these are 2 or 3 things that
Yes.
we need to like address real quick as Team Wingate. Now we'll go on to our date.
Yes.
So anyway, I think a really good takeaway or a good action item is to, if you just even have 5 minutes, however you like to, as a female, like I like to process things and think about, and just, it helps me to journal things or like draw on paper and just kind of get some things out like of my head where I'm like, oh, this could happen, this could happen. And so even if you have a few minutes, you can start to write down some ideas, brainstorm some ways. And maybe you have some tips for the guy, but just to kind of start with what could that look like, and what could be one thing more than maybe what you're doing now. It could be a card, it could be a text, it could be their favorite candy even. That's a fun thing.
So whatever season of life you were in and we are in, one thing I always remember is the way I felt when I knew I loved her. And the way I felt when I was like, I could spend the rest of my life with this woman. And so that's one of the key takeaways for me from this whole thing is go back to the beginning sometimes, because sometimes we can drown in the present and lose sight of where we started. And there's some beauty in where you started too, where those butterflies are there, that energy's there, and that excitement's there. And if we don't take a step back and we think, this is still really exciting, we're still really blessed to be in a marriage that that is clearly designed by God. And there are different moments in our marriage that it just hits me at different points. And moments like these date nights are a good time to really just recapture that romance and that passion that you felt when you fell in love in the first place. Excuse me.
Very sweet.
She's speechless.
Very true. Well, thank you for joining us for tip number 18, effort like when you were dating. So we can't wait to hear how that goes, some ideas that you have. And remember, be sure to celebrate the small wins.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes.
Like and comment.
Thanks for joining.